everyone, welcome back to Genius Blossom. Today we continue our journey through life processes and explore transport in human beings. In this video, we will talk about blood, its pigment, hemoglobin, and see how heart works as a pump and the different blood vessels that carry blood throughout the body. And let's begin. Imagine a big city with thousands of people moving around, and if there are no buses, trains, or roads, the whole city would collapse. Our body is just like that city. Trillions of cells living together, and to keep them alive, we need a perfect transport system to deliver food and oxygen and to collect waste. In our body, the main transport system is blood. It carries food, oxygen, and waste materials to and from every cell. And you have learned in class 9 that blood is a fluid connective tissue. So, which is the main transport system in our body? The blood. Now, let us see what is plasma and what is its role. Plasma, it is the fluid medium of blood in which all the blood cells are suspended, and it transports food, carbon dioxide and nitrogenous waste in dissolved form. It also carries salts and other useful substances to different parts of the body. So what is plasma? Plasma, it is the fluid medium found in the blood. And then what are the functions of plasma? It transports food, carbon dioxide, nitrogenous waste, and also carries salt and other substances. Red blood corpuscles or RBCs contain the red pigment called hemoglobin, and this hemoglobin is responsible for carrying oxygen from the lungs to all the tissues of the body. The textbook also gives an activity related to hemoglobin, and it asks us to find out the normal hemoglobin levels in men, women, in children and adults, and even in animals like cows, buffaloes and calves. And you will find that the hemoglobin content, it is not the same in all cases, and these differences are related to age, sex and the body's needs. So which pigment is responsible for carrying oxygen in our body? Hemoglobin. And which cells carry oxygen? Red blood corpuscles or RBCs carry oxygen. And why do RBCs carry oxygen? Because they contain the pigment hemoglobin. And do hemoglobin levels remain the same in all humans and animals? No, they differ in men, women, children and different animals. And to keep blood moving throughout the body, we need a pumping organ, and that organ is the heart. And a network of blood vessels carries blood to every tissue. And if an injury occurs, platelets and clotting factors, they act as a repair system to prevent blood loss. Why do we need a pump in our body? To keep blood moving. And which organ acts as the pump? The heart. And what carries blood to every tissue? The blood vessels. And which part of the blood helps in repairing injuries? Platelets and clotting factors. Now let us see about our pump, the heart. The heart is a strong muscular organ almost as big as our fist. And since both oxygen and carbon dioxide have to be transported by the blood, the heart has different chambers. And these chambers prevent the mixing of oxygen rich blood with carbon dioxide rich blood, and the carbon dioxide rich blood reaches the lungs so that the carbon dioxide can be removed, and at the same time oxygenated blood from the lungs comes back to the heart, and this oxygen rich blood is pumped to the rest of the body. And what is the size of our heart compared to? It's about the size of our fist. And why does the heart have different chambers? To prevent mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. And which blood is sent to the lungs by the heart? Carbon dioxide rich blood. And which blood is pumped to the body? Oxygen rich blood. In this image, the blue blood vessels represent carbon dioxide rich blood which needs to be sent to the lungs for purification, and the red blood vessels represent oxygen rich blood which is pumped from the heart to all parts of the body. The heart is divided into four chambers. The two upper chambers are called atria and the two lower chambers are called ventricles. So the heart is divided into how many chambers? Heart has four chambers. And what are the upper chambers of the heart called? They are atria. And what are the lower chambers of the heart called? They are called ventricles. So the heart is divided into four chambers, and together these four chambers make sure that oxygen rich blood and carbon dioxide rich blood do not mix. So what is the duty of the chambers of the heart? They prevent the mixing of oxygen rich blood with carbon dioxide rich blood. And now let us carefully see how these chambers actually work. The left side of the heart, that is the left atrium and the left ventricle, they deals with the oxygenated blood. That is the left atrium, it first collects the oxygen rich blood coming from the lungs. Then the left atrium contracts, then the blood moves into the left ventricle. The left ventricle, it has thick, strong walls because it has to pump this blood to the entire body. On the other hand, the right side of the heart, the right atrium along with the right ventricle, they deals with the deoxygenated blood, and the right atrium, it collects the blood coming back from the body, and that blood, it is poor in oxygen and rich in carbon dioxide. When the right atrium contracts, the blood enters the right ventricle. The right ventricle then pumps this blood to the lungs where it receives fresh oxygen again. And this way, the left side always handles oxygen rich blood and the right side always handles oxygen poor blood. And because of this proper system, oxygenated and deoxygenated blood never get mixed. Which chamber first collects oxygenated blood from the lungs? The left atrium. And which chamber pumps oxygenated blood to the whole body? The left ventricle. Which chamber receives deoxygenated blood from the body? The right atrium. Which chamber pumps deoxygenated blood to the lungs? The right ventricle. Then why are the walls of the ventricles thicker than atria? Because ventricles have to pump blood with more force either to the whole body or to the lungs. To understand the process of circulation through the heart better, we will now follow how blood flows through the chambers of the heart step by step. And now let us check what happens in the left atrium, the first chamber in our step by step journey of blood circulation. The left atrium, it is the thin-walled upper chamber on the left side of the heart. Its main job is to collect oxygen-rich blood coming from the lungs. When it relaxes, it receives this oxygenated blood, and then when it contracts, it pushes the blood into the next chamber, the left ventricle. So which chamber first receives oxygenated blood from the lungs? The left atrium. And what happens when the left atrium contracts? It transfers blood to the left ventricle. Then why is the wall of the left atrium thin? The wall of the left atrium is thin because it only needs to collect and pass blood to the next chamber, not pump it far. The left ventricle is the lower chamber on the left side of the heart. It receives oxygen rich blood from the left atrium, and the wall of the left ventricle, it is very thick and muscular because it has to pump blood with great force to all parts of the body, and when the left ventricle contracts, the oxygenated blood is pushed out to supply the entire body. So, which chamber pumps oxygen-rich blood to the whole body? The left ventricle. And why does the left ventricle have a thick muscular wall? Because it needs to pump blood with force to the entire body. The right atrium is the thin-walled upper chamber on the right side of the heart. Its job is to collect deoxygenated blood from all parts of the body, and when it relaxes, it receives this blood, and since it only collects and passes blood, its wall is thin. Which chamber collects deoxygenated blood from the body? Right atrium. And why is the wall of the right atrium thin? Because it only needs to collect and transfer blood. The right ventricle is the lower chamber on the right side of the heart. It receives deoxygenated blood from the right atrium. And when the right ventricle contracts, it pumps the blood to the lungs for oxygenation. Its wall is thicker than the atrium's wall because it needs to pump blood with more force. So, which chamber pumps deoxygenated blood to the lungs? Right ventricle. Why is the wall of the right ventricle thicker than the atrium's wall? Because it has to pump blood with force to the lungs. To ensure smooth one-way flow, the heart has valves between chambers, and these valves prevent the blood from flowing backwards when atria or ventricles contract. And also ventricles always have thicker muscular walls than atria because they do the actual pumping. Now let us think about what happens when oxygen enters the blood in our lungs. The oxygen rich blood, it must be kept separate from the oxygen poor blood. But why? Because inside our heart, the right side of the heart deals only with deoxygenated blood while the left side handles only with oxygenated blood. That is, think of it like two water pipelines in a house. One pipeline brings in clean drinking water while another carries out wastewater. If they get mixed, will the water be useful? No, in the same way, if oxygen rich blood and oxygen poor blood mix, our body cells won't get enough oxygen. So, by keeping them separate, the body gets a highly efficient oxygen supply. And who really needs this efficient system? Animals like birds and mammals. Why? Because they require a lot of energy to maintain a constant body temperature. And think of birds flying continuously or humans jogging on a hot day. The separation in our heart helps us to live an active life with stable body temperature. Why must oxygenated and deoxygenated blood be kept separate? To ensure an efficient supply of oxygen to the body. And what problem arises if mixing occurs? If mixing occurs, then body cells, they would get less oxygen, reducing energy and efficiency. Then which animals benefit most from this separation? Birds and mammals. Why? Because they need high energy to maintain body temperature. And give an example showing the importance of this separation. That is, birds flying long distances or humans jogging, they require continuous high energy, and it is possible only with separate oxygen rich blood supply. Now, in animals that do not use energy to maintain a constant body temperature, the body temperature simply depends on the environment. For example, amphibians and many reptiles have a three-chambered heart, that means two atria and one ventricle. Because of this, there is some mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood streams. But not all reptiles have a three-chambered heart. Reptiles like crocodiles and alligators, they actually have a four-chambered heart, just like birds and mammals. Now let us look at fishes. Fishes, they have only a two-chambered heart, one atrium and one ventricle, and their blood is pumped first to the gills where it gets oxygenated and then passes directly to the rest of the body. And so in fishes, blood goes only once through the heart during one complete cycle. That is, in one complete cycle of circulation, blood goes only once through the heart in fishes. But in other vertebrates, the blood passes twice through the heart during each complete cycle, and this is called a double circulation. So, what is double circulation? Double circulation means the blood passes through the heart twice during one complete cycle of circulation. So, how many chambers are present in an amphibian's heart? Three chambers. And which reptiles are exceptions with a four-chambered heart? Crocodiles and alligators. How many chambers are present in a fish heart? Two. In fishes, how many times does blood pass through the heart in one cycle? Once. And what do we call when the blood passes twice through the heart in one cycle? Double circulation. What is double circulation? Double circulation means the blood passes through the heart twice during one complete cycle of circulation. And now that we have learned about the heart, let us now look at the tubes that carry blood. And the tubes that carry blood are called blood vessels. And there are three main types of blood vessels. They are arteries, veins, and capillaries. Blood vessels, they are the tubes that carry blood, and there are three main types of blood vessels. They are arteries, veins, and capillaries. Then what are arteries? Arteries, they are the vessels that carry blood away from the heart to different parts of the body. And since the blood comes out from the heart with high pressure, arteries have thick elastic walls to withstand that pressure. Which blood vessel carry blood away from the heart? Arteries. Why do arteries have thick elastic walls? Arteries, they have thick elastic walls to withstand high pressure of blood from the heart. Veins collect blood from different organs and bring it back to the heart. So the blood vessel veins, their function is to collect blood from different organs or different parts of the body and bring it back to the heart. And since the blood is not under much pressure, veins do not need thick walls. Instead, they have walls that ensure blood flows only in one direction, preventing backflow. Which vessels bring blood back to the heart? Veins. And what special feature do veins have to stop backflow? Valves. Valves are present in the veins, and these valves ensure blood flows only in one direction, preventing backflow. And the third type of blood vessel is capillary. And do you know how capillaries are formed? When arteries, they reach an organ or tissue, they divide into smaller and smaller branches until they become capillaries. And capillaries, they are the smallest blood vessels with walls only 1 cell thick. And this thin wall allows the exchange of materials such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, and waste between blood and cells. And after the exchange, what happens to the capillaries? The capillaries, they join together to form what? To form veins. And these veins, they carry blood back to the heart. So, what are capillaries? Capillaries are the smallest blood vessels with very thin walls. That is, on the cell walls have only 1 cell thickness. What is the function of capillaries? Capillaries, they help in the exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, and waste with the body cells. And after exchanging tissues, which vessels are formed from capillaries? Veins. And now let us compare arteries and veins. Arteries, they always carry blood away from the heart, while veins, they carry blood back to the heart. And blood in arteries, they flows with high pressure, so arteries have thick elastic walls, while veins they carry blood under low pressure, so they have thin walls. That is, arteries they have thick elastic walls and veins have thin walls. Then arteries they do not need any valves, but veins they have valves to prevent the backflow of blood. And in most cases, arteries carry oxygenated blood, except the case of pulmonary artery. And while veins, they carry deoxygenated blood, except the pulmonary vein. And so arteries are like the high pressure highways of the body, where veins, they are the return paths that bring blood back safely to the heart. So which vessels carry blood away from the heart? Arteries. And which vessels have valves? Veins. Why do arteries have thick elastic walls? To withstand high pressure of blood from the heart. And which artery carries deoxygenated blood? Pulmonary artery. And which vein carries oxygenated blood? Pulmonary vein. So in this class we learned about the blood and its pigment hemoglobin, the pumping action of the heart and the network of blood vessels, the arteries, veins and capillaries, and in the next video we will continue with the blood pressure, platelets, lymph and transport in plants. And if you found this class helpful, please like, share and subscribe to Genius Blossom for more lessons, and see you in the next class. Thank you for watching.